I'm Ryan Gass, owner and lead instructor of PTPGun.com. We are the leading provider of quality concealed carry courses throughout the state of Maryland. And at each and every one of those courses, I teach about Maryland's firearms laws. I also have videos here on our YouTube channel that discuss that topic in depth. And I also meet new people each and every day, both civilians and law enforcement. And the most common question that they have is regarding Maryland's ignorant laws regarding high capacity magazines. So let's go ahead and talk about them. Now, we're not talking about the Rolling Stones nor Guns and Ammo magazine. Instead, a magazine is a device used to hold and feed ammunition into the firearms chamber. It is typically a detachable box that can be inserted into the firearms receiver, sometimes erroneously referred to as a clip. This is not a clip. This is a magazine. There is a difference between clips and magazines, and we will discuss that later on. The magazine allows for the consistent loading and feeding of cartridges into the firearms chamber, which allows for continuous firing without the need to manually hand load each and every round into the chamber after each and every shot. Magazines come in various capacities and designs, depending on the type of firearm it's made for and its intended use. Now let's take a look at some of the standard capacity magazines that I have for some of my firearms, such as this magazine for my Glock 17. Now, the capacity for a Glock 17, the standard capacity, happens to be 17 rounds. That's not a correlation there, that's just a coincidence. But a Glock 17, the standard capacity for a Glock 17 is 17 rounds. Now, the standard capacity for an AR-15 chambered in 5.56 is 30 rounds. And this is one of those magazines right here. Looks like this. Here's one made by Magpul. This is one for an H&K. Both are 30 rounds. Both will work interchangeably. But these are standard capacity. They are not what some politicians call high capacity. Now, the standard capacity for some firearms is relatively small. Like this is a standard capacity magazine for that Savage Model 93 chambered in 17 HMR. This only holds 5 rounds. This is the standard for that gun. But, contrary to common sense, Maryland politicians have decided that any magazine that has a capacity for more than 10 rounds of ammunition for a firearm is now a high-capacity magazine that must be overly regulated. This is in their attempt to take a crowbar to the knees of gun owners, throwing a fit like Tanya Harding.
Uncomfortable, and I think she's going to quit.
Because we as Americans, including but not limited to those that live in Maryland, have a Second Amendment that codifies one's right to self-defense and protects our ability to keep and bear arms in pursuit of that. Common questions that I get include but not limited to, can I own a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds? How many magazines can I carry? What if I bought it before they moved the goalpost from 20 rounds back in October 1 of 2013 down to 10 rounds? What if I bought them after the implementation of the new legal standard of 10 rounds? Can I have these magazines in my handgun or on my person while carrying? Or let's look at some of the specific questions that we've gotten here in the comments of some of our YouTube videos. Brian Green 4277 says, I have a P365 and 2 10-round magazines and was given 3 17-round mags from my relative in Virginia. Can I bring them into Maryland? Can I use them at the firing range in Maryland? KRT10 says, what if you, God forbid, have to use your firearm for self-defense with a high-capacity magazine? Would that be used against you in court? Alex Bungori 6906 says, I know Maryland law, you cannot buy, sell, manufacture, or transfer magazines over 10 rounds, but why can you get them with a, why can you, he said can to be specific, he says, why can you get them with a new purchase? Many pistols are sold in Maryland at an FFL dealer that comes with magazines more than 10 rounds. Real quick, let's get that question real quick. The first rule of Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club. Let's move on. So not to sound condescending, but these questions can be easily answered. All we need to do is read the actual law. So let's do that now. So what's prohibited? A person may not manufacture, sell, offer for sale, purchase, receive, or transfer a detachable magazine that has a capacity for more than 10 rounds of ammunition for a firearm. So let's break this down Barney style. Is the item in question a detachable magazine? Yes, it is. Does it have a capacity for more than 10 rounds of ammunition for a firearm? Well, yes, it does. Now, let's take a little bit of a step back. Where does Maryland law, where is it limited to? What is the geographical limitations of Maryland law? The geographical limitations of Maryland law is Maryland. That's right. If you're within the border of Maryland, you have to follow Maryland law. If you go to Virginia, you must follow Virginia law. If you go down to Florida, you must follow Florida law. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Now let's go ahead and establish some contextual boundaries. All right, we are within the bounds of Maryland. We are in Maryland. So with that being said, while you're in the geographical bounds of Maryland, are you attempting to manufacture the magazine? Are you attempting to sell it to someone? Are you offering it to sale to someone? Are you attempting to purchase it from someone? Are you attempting to receive it from someone? How about transfer ownership? You're going to give it to them, all right? You're not actually getting anything in exchange. You're just giving it to them, maybe for Christmas. If you're not trying to do one of those above mentioned actions, then whatever you're asking is legal. Yes, you can own them. Yes, you can carry them. Yes, you can take it to the range and shoot with it. Yes, if you needed to, you can defend your life with a handgun that has a detachable magazine that has a capacity for more than 10 rounds of ammunition for a firearm. Maryland law enforcement officers can only arrest you for conduct that you have done in Maryland that violates Maryland statutes as written and signed into law, even if it violates your constitutional rights, unfortunately. There are those that are in law enforcement that take an oath of office. The oath, part of it is to enforce the laws of Maryland. And some of them take that aspect of their oath much more seriously than the aspect of their oath that says that they're going to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. But don't get me wrong, there are many in law enforcement that do ignore those aspects of Maryland law and that do value the Constitution and that do put the responsibility to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, they put that much farther above than to have to enforce Maryland laws. They do exist. They may be in the minority, but they do exist. Trust me, I've met them. The burden is on the government, including but not limited to law enforcement officers, for example, to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, not the other way around. My response? No, you're not required to prove your innocence. It's the job of law enforcement to prove your guilt. You do not need to answer any questions from them at all, ever. See the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. That protects your right to not have to testify, to not have to self-incriminate. That includes both on the side of the road, it covers anywhere you're at when you're talking to law enforcement or anybody like that, as well as in the courtroom. Let's break it down this way. The law enforcement officer believes that you received that magazine in Maryland, which receiving a magazine in Maryland like that would be a violation of Maryland law. But nothing actually leads them to that belief, except for your simple possession of the magazine, which, after a quick review of Maryland law, again, possession is not a violation of Maryland law, regardless of what they may incorrectly believe or try to mislead you to believe. Because there are law enforcement officers in Maryland that, surprise, surprise, don't know the law. There are law enforcement officers in Maryland that truly do believe that possession is illegal, which, again, it is not. Here, let's go ahead and take another look at the law real quick. A person may not manufacture, sell, offer for sale, purchase, receive, or transfer a detachable magazine that has a capacity of more than 10 rounds of ammunition for a firearm. If they believe that you came to receive that magazine in Maryland in violation of Maryland law, it is his or her job to prove it. You need not participate in that investigation in any way. You are not required to answer any questions of law enforcement at any time. Your right, not a privilege, but instead a right, is protected by the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Your right to remain silent. Your right to not answer any questions at any point in time. May you? Yes. Should you? No. To summarize, nothing in Maryland law prohibits the ownership, use, possession, carrying of a detachable magazine that has a capacity for more than 10 rounds of ammunition for a firearm. I hope that clears up any confusion that you may have had on high-capacity magazines in Maryland. Share this video with someone else that may be confused on what the law says, whether they are a law-abiding citizen or even a law enforcement officer. Want to learn from Maryland's leading experts in concealed carry and the laws surrounding gun ownership? We would love to have you in our next class if it's not already sold out, but we have many other classes on our website available as well. You can register at the link in the description below, and or if you don't have time for a class, maybe you've already been in your class and you're satisfied with that, we'd love to have you watch our Maryland Law video. Again, the link for that is also in the description below. Appreciate you guys. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.